Board of Trustees to order. It's 6:02 p.m. on Thursday, the 10th of August. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. We were going to do public comment first, but I see that we have some special people in the audience, so I actually am going to move things around, which I hope people will bear with me. I do have that privilege as mayor, so I would like to just move up a mayoral appointment. Number one, would you like to read it, Kathy?
No, you go.
All right.
Ahead, sir.
Whereas the Village of Southampton has a vacancy in the position of lieutenant, and whereas Ashley Jones has served the Village of Southampton with distinction as sergeant, and whereas Officer Jones placed first on a civil service eligible list for the position of Southampton Village Lieutenant, now therefore be it resolved that Ashley Jones is appointed as lieutenant of the Suffolk County eligible list V027, dated July 26, 2023, subject to successful completion of a probationary period established for the position of lieutenant by the County of Suffolk, and be it further resolved that Lieutenant Jones shall be compensated at an annual salary of $182,619.84, effective August 11th, 2023, IAW Southampton Village PBA contract. I'm asking. So I'm asking for a motion.
And I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Now you can clap.
And with that, I'd like to. And I would like to come down and present Lieutenant Jones with her badge. Congratulations. Come on. Gotta say something.
I'd like to thank my family, my wife and my two boys, my sister and nieces, and my brother-in-law for being here, the members that I work with, my coworkers. I value you all. We're all here to serve this community that we all love. Didn't really have anything prepared, but I am over the moon about this. I love this village, and that's it. Thank you to the board.
Thank
I
you.
really do appreciate this.
Congratulations. Well deserved.
Mayor, can we capture the moment as a board with her?
Yeah, she's
please?
gonna have to take the oath of office, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Do you want to have it all together?
Yeah, do you wanna all come down?
Yeah, we want to capture the moment.
And the clerk will administer the oath.
So, on behalf of the state of New York, the village of state of New York, county of Suffolk, and the village of Southampton, I
Ashley Jones,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Lieutenant of the Southampton Village Police Department
of Lieutenant of the Southampton Village Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Congratulations again.
Lieutenant Jones, you just, I should make it official. You just have to sign it. Congratulations.
Now, no hard feelings for those that want to leave the meeting now. And with that, we will actually return to public comment. So why don't we look at the list of those that have signed up to speak for 3 minutes here tonight? Thank you for coming in with the dog.
Yes, you may. You're very welcome, ma'am. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. So for public comment, the first person is Ron Ristov for 37 Hetty Creek Lane. Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, good evening.
Evening.
My name is Ron Rustow. I live at 37 Hetty Creek Lane. I've lived in the village here for over 20 years. My first meeting, so be interested to see how it goes. The reason I came tonight was to talk a little bit about the continuing very serious traffic problems that are occurring on Lee Avenue. I live on Hetty Creek. I can't get to my home for 5 days a week between the hours of 4 and 8 p.m. It's virtually impossible. I don't know why this is all of a sudden happening, but every year it seems to be getting a little worse. I have pictures I took here that if you're interested, if I can hand it to someone. This is just coming here tonight, so you can get a sense of just how bad this problem is. Would you be interested to take a look? Or
Yeah, no, others people, I've sent
I'll
it
send them to you,
to
or
the clerk.
just
Yeah, that'd be great.
Somebody say,
Yeah.
take a look. I'm sure you're aware of the problem. But let me just make a few points, okay? Number one, there's intense exhaust fumes from all these idling cars. It occurs on Lee Avenue, it occurs on Captain's Neck Lane, it occurs on Ox Pasture Road. You can't go anywhere, and it's very unhealthy, okay? It's impossible to travel to and from Hetty Creek Lane or Lee Avenue during the congestion hours. We actually have to plan our evenings and our days around when this traffic is going to occur. There's no space to safely bike, walk with dogs, or alone, or for children to play outside in the streets. There's very aggressive drivers block and scream at residents trying to get to their homes. So as you can imagine, if you live on Hetty Creek, and there's like a one lane you can possibly drive on, so when people get close, they try to drive, but people block the cars. The other day, we were walking with our dogs. A gentleman took his car, blocked the street so a woman couldn't turn into her house, and started screaming and cursing at her. People get very agitated sitting in this traffic line. And the people who live there are a little frustrated with everything that happens, okay? There are a series of no right turn signs that have been put up on Somerset Avenue, Bishop's Lane, North Captain's Lane, Corrigan Street, and Moses Lane, all in that area that's north of Hill Street, together with no access to Hill Street signs in this area. I do believe that this has affected us and effectively driven the traffic down to Ox Pasture and Captain's Neck and Lee Avenue because people can't do it up north anymore. There's actually these signs that say no right turn. So I believe that that's exacerbated the problem in a different area. So it might have solved the problem in one area and pushed it to a different area. Emergency vehicles, forget if you need an emergency, they cannot pass safely on this street for all this time that this is backed up. There's often, to exacerbate the problem, landscapers are parked on the road, which further diminishes the ability of the traffic to get by on both sides and causes a lot of altercations, okay? This is a residential area, not a through commercial street. And I think the people that live there have the right to be protected, okay? The traffic, when the traffic is lighter, we have another problem, which is excessive speeding on Lee Avenue. There's oftentimes people are going 40, 45 miles an hour. It's very unsafe and very frightening. So also I think we should consider some speed bumps on Lee Avenue or something to slow people down, because even though the traffic miles per hour was lowered from 35 to 25 about a year ago, which helped somewhat, it really isn't totally addressing the problem. So I know the police are well aware of this issue, because I know myself and many of our neighbors have complained about it. But the police say it's not their job, it's really, the job of the city council or whoever makes these rules to address this issue. So I think it's only a matter of time before serious injuries occur, and I think that the people in this area are entitled to quiet enjoyment of their homes. We really didn't sign up to live on a highway, and I don't think it's fair that all this traffic has been driven onto these streets. So I hope you'll take this under advisement. I think it is a big problem, and like I said, I've been here 20 years. Every year it seems to be getting worse. It wasn't a problem, and now all of a sudden it's like worse. And this year it's reached an all-time crescendo. It really is quite a problem, and I think it needs to be intelligently addressed somehow. So I appreciate you listening to my point of view, and I hope that you'll take some action. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
The second person is David Rung.
David Rong, 85 Pleasant Lane. I have a letter in today's press suggesting the need for a class action lawsuit against the village. Why is this drastic action necessary? This administration refuses to listen. It refuses to correct a system which produces absurd and unfair assessed values. This administration refuses to correct a grievance process which they administer with vindictiveness and corrupt self-interest. They continue to lie and deceive on the annual tax invoices which they send to each resident. They hired the attorney to do a Giuliani to perpetuate the lie. They continue to refuse to tell residents how assessed values are actually determined. In a trustee meeting, when the attorney suggested that the trustees should talk to the persistent Mr. Rung, Gina and Charlene said, "Don't worry about Mr. Rung. We have a plan to take care of him." And no one in that meeting, not the attorney, not the other trustees, said, "No, Gina, that's not the way a moral government acts." In February of 2022, Roy Stevenson sent me an email, which I will quote. "When all real estate in the village has increased in value over the last 30 years, it has been the market forces that have caused the value of higher end properties to increase at a higher and more rapid rate than properties at the lower end of the price scale. This would tend to cause the ratio of assessed value to market value to be lower for the higher valued properties." You are correct. So this is more information for the class action attorney. A trustee fully acknowledges in writing that the present system discriminates against a class of residents, those with lower valued properties, and he does nothing about it. Robin, I have noted a number of times that residents of Windward Way have a tax ratio 3 times higher than that of residents of Ox Pasture. Windward Way residents are a constituency you should care about, but you and the rest of the administration have sold your souls to your wealthy beneficiaries. I have contacted the village auditors to alert them to the village's practice of destroying the records which support the calculations of individual assessed values. a major accounting deficiency. I have also alerted them to the principles supporting the class action lawsuit. If they decide that they need to qualify their opinion, there goes the village's credit rating. This administration needs to address this issue. Continuing to bury your heads in the sand exposes the village to substantial financial risk and continues immoral treatment towards a significant portion of residents. You need to start caring about someone other than yourself and your wealthy financial benefactors.
Thank you, Mr. Rung. Does the village attorney have anything you'd like to add?
I do. I do. I'm just gathering my thoughts for a minute. Back in March, Mr. Rung complained to the village about the tax structure and his bill. And I wrote him a letter on March 28th explaining that he had grieved his taxes and received a reduction in his property taxes based on that grievance, and advised him under state law that his sole remedy to that is to seek judicial review in Suffolk County Supreme Court. That was a March 28th letter. The deadline for him to do so was April 30th. I reviewed ECF filings, and there isn't a filing, so I guess he declined to do that. At the last Board of Trustee meeting, or it may have been the one prior, I might be mistaken. Mr. Mayor, you asked me to explain in sort of general terms the way that tax bills are generated and how that relates to the village's finances, and I attempted to do so. I hope it made sense to everybody. I'm happy to answer any questions the board has about how these taxes work, but I'm at a loss for how else
No,
to respond
you
to
were
Mr.
explaining
Rung.
how they comply with state law.
I believe that they are. My office has reviewed them fully, and they do comply with state law.
Will you
So I
respond
appreciate
to
it. No,
the
we're,
question
we're,
today?
we, we,
No,
we,
of course not.
we're not having a back and forth, Mr. Rung. I've told you that before. You've made your statement. Thank you very much.
I know, but he's
Next.
Mayor, I'd like to add one more thing, which is that I did receive a call from the village auditor reporting to me that they had received calls from Mr. Rung and that they did not believe it was appropriate to respond directly to him. And I have advised them that I agree with that and that any further comments from Mr. Rung or general inquiries from the public be forwarded directly to Village Hall, because I believe it's unfair to village vendors to have to field general questions from the public when that village's vendor's obligation is to the board and to the village.
That's correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy.
The next one is Amy Plum.
Amy Plum, 131 Bailey Road.
Goes.
I live just west of Somerset and Captain's Neck, Ox Pasture, Lee Avenue. I am just simply pleading. I mean, I know there's really not much we can do about the congestion, but I think you have to open up Somerset and not, threatening people with, tickets, and not letting them make a right turn onto Hill Street. I don't think it's helping any. I think it's hurting the people on Lee Avenue. I think it's aggravating everybody. I think there's got to be something legal about it, possibly that it's a public road. We should all be able to use Somerset and Captain's Neck to try to get up Hill Street to get home. I mean, to say that I have to make a left turn onto Somerset, off of Somerset onto Hill Street, go all the way back down to the movie theater, come back up to get to my home on Bailey Road up Tuckahoe Lane is like ludicrous. I just want to get home and enjoy the streets like everybody else, and it's just crazy. I can't leave the house after 3 o'clock unless I'm on my bicycle. I don't mind doing that, but it's kind of aggravating. And I think the first gentleman that spoke had made some very valid points about the people that are on that road. They're not friendly. The cars are idling. It's the people we just can't get home. And I know that everybody in those cars is also trying to get home, and they live west of us. But there's got to be, maybe it's if we could have more of our police force during those hours out there on Hill Street, moving traffic, directing traffic, getting people in and out, moving it somehow. But to have them sit there and write tickets for people that are simply trying to get home is really unfair. So I think putting them out there on the street to get things moving, I think, would be helpful. I don't know.
Thank you.
This is
Amy.
your problem, not mine, but I'm just complaining.
Thank you, Amy.
Next resident is Donna Bennett.
Hi, I'm Donna Bennett, 10 Dodge Street, Southampton, New York. It's nice to see you all again. If I could, I'd like to hand you some pictures, please. I was born here in Southampton Hospital, September of 1958. So I've loved this community ever since. My heart hurts a lot of times at what feels like a loss of the true community, as so much has changed. I've seen how this unique farm and beach town has changed over the decades, and I prayed that it would stay something special no matter what kind of change came here. I realize how the years have flown by, and I prayed all that lately that I never become that complaining old lady. But when I see like women walking around in the village with just a bathing suit on, and I know that there's like rules against that, I don't call the police about stuff like that. When I am fearful at this age now of walking on the sidewalk because of all the bicycle riders on the sidewalk, even motorized sometimes, I don't call the police. However, when I go through the busiest, biggest intersection of this area and I feel assaulted by 12 to 15 men and their vulgar signage, you know, they were all dressed in white, hats, glasses, not really identifiable, you know, with big red stains. The abortion things are bad enough. I hate that those people are allowed to have those horrible signs across the street from the elementary school. But I've learned that everyone has a right to protest and in their own way, whatever. So, therefore, I need some clarity. I have a couple of questions for you guys. Number one, is it necessary to have a permit to protest? Number two, do you have to live in Southampton to protest here? Excuse me. Number three, those men took signs and walked across County Road 39, 4-foot signs. And I will not even say what was on them, because I'll give them no publicity at all. However, they're walking across where all these people are talking about how horrible the traffic is. Are those people insured? Or is it going to come on us when something happens, when something goes on? Because I know these aren't the only protests that are there. I know there's a lot of people that bring their business to that corner, so to speak. So, my only other question is any subject matter okay? And where do we draw the line at what they're allowed to bring to their protest? I've given you the pictures. I don't know any grown man that's forced into that. I don't know who we're protesting for, or it was evil as far as I'm concerned. And to have children that want to know what all that is, it was horrifying to me. I called the police. That's the time I called the police. And the dispatcher that answered the phone, I could hear the other dispatcher in the background telling me, the other dispatcher was saying the same thing to whoever he was speaking to that the dispatcher I was speaking to told me. You know, they have a right as long as they're not blocking traffic, but come on. I want you to take a good look, please. And I didn't even get all the signage. It was horrifying. So, Mr. Mayor, please, you said when you ran for this office that you love this village. Please, let's take it back to some kind of moral civility. I just, and everybody here that is complaining about the traffic, 800%. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Donna. Thank you.
Our next resident is Henry Idelson from 405 Ox Pasture.
Thank
Thank you. I'd like to, I'll echo something that the first speaker said. I won't even, I mean, I echo everything that this lady said. But I'm especially concerned, I live on Ox Pasture. And to get to this meeting, only through the good graces of one of the back-to-back cars did they let me out of my driveway to turn left to come to the meeting. The first speaker really spoke to the problem on Lee Avenue, which is the same, virtually the same problem that we have in Ox Pasture, except that now they're talking about putting a stop sign on the corner of Lee Avenue and Ox Pasture, as I understand it. It's beyond me what that could possibly do to help an already impossible situation. That's number one. Number two, I've heard that there's some discussion about closing Pond Lane. Well, that's going to exasperate this already terrible situation. I don't know the solution. I do know that one of the speakers, I think it was a lady, made the suggestion that if you had some traffic help from the police department on County Road 39, I think that would help. I think that not taking a right turn is absolutely ridiculous. It takes you longer to get through the traffic taking a left turn because you have to watch the traffic coming from the west going east. It's a traffic problem. That's my, I don't know, I wish I had a solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Mr. Idelson.
Our next residents are the Perlman family. Pardon?
I hope the boys are going to speak.
We can, I know that they were worried about the sound. That was-
Hi, my name is Lily. Hi, my name is Theo.
Okay, and where do you guys live?
At 111 Main Street.
North Main Street.
North Main Street.
And why are we here today?
For buying a stop sign.
We would like to buy a
I helped my dad do the petition.
So we live at 111 North Main. This is our neighbor Claudia. And there is kind of like, if you know that turn onto Bowden Square where Union Burger is, it's sort of a blind turn. There's no sidewalk. We have a lot of young kids, as do a lot of the neighbors. And it's just a really unsafe place because there's no sidewalk. There's nowhere for us to like ride our bikes, walk into town. And so we thought it would be great if it would be possible to get a stop sign there. Not for something additional for the police to do or to enforce, but just to get people to kind of stop and look around before they're taking that turn pretty wild, I would say. There's really tall hedges, it's pretty blind, there's also a lot of parked cars there. So it feels like a matter of time before someone's door gets knocked off or a kid gets hit or something like that. So that's, no, don't. And then we also, the boys went door to door and spoke to a lot of our neighbors, and we have a petition that we submitted to Kathy that everyone we spoke to signed.
And we can't ride our bikes there because there's so many people are going fast.
Thank you very much for coming in and speaking.
The cars go so fast.
All right.
Last year it was a big accident in that corner, actually.
Yeah, a car flipped over actually,
Yes.
right in
It
front.
flipped over 40.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much. We will take a look at that. Thank you.
So much.
One time ago, a car flipped over.
Good job, you guys. Really good.
We're gonna head out, but thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next resident is George Johnston.
Hi, George
Hey.
Johnston, 170 Lee Avenue. Also here to talk about the traffic. I won't go into all the points, but I think the first speaker did a very good job summarizing it. On the way here tonight, we had trouble leaving our driveway because of the aggressiveness of the drivers. The first one or two cars didn't even want to give us the space to come out. And then right now, Lee Avenue is full, Captain's Neck is full, Ox Pasture is full from Lee Avenue to Captain's Neck to Halsey Neck. So I think if we left right now to get home, it would take about half an hour. I apologize, I don't have a solution, but seconding the problem.
Thank you very much, George.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Our next resident, Robin Faulkner. Susan's after Robin. Robin is first.
Oh, I had your email solution, so I was gonna read it. I didn't know if you could make it. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you for your service, and for everyone for being here tonight. Yes, we live on 170 Lee Avenue. This is my husband. It's very problematic getting out of the driveway, and I didn't realize how problematic it was because we just don't go outside for those hours. And I was like, wow, it's going to take us an hour to get home from this meeting. So one point, someone mentioned they didn't think a stop sign would be good on Ox Pasture, but I actually think it's a really good solution because not even during those hours of the congestion, but people go around that curve very quickly when it's on Ox Pasture to Lee Avenue. I'm at 170 Lee Avenue. It's right next to Ox Pasture, so I'm going around that curve constantly. So I think that'd be a good solution. I'd also like to read the list of solutions that I did not come up with, but just want to try to be helpful here. Number one, the stop sign. Number two, landscape trucks to drive into clients' driveways if feasible. And also if they have to park outside of the home, if they could park on one side of the street, so that we're not, doing one of these zigzaggies. And then this says all commercial traffic forbidden to drive in residential areas unless they have a specific purpose. Number four, make 27 and 27A a 3-lane highway at rush hour coming east, and the same thing in the afternoon going west. Number five, keep blinking lights by the reservation and Stony Brook turns, but have one policeman in case there's opposite cars needing to cross over. Number six, offer special or reduced fare rush hour trains for those who do not need their cars. Number seven, buses in Hampton Bays, the Macy's parking area, also subsidize to bring people to work. Number eight, no landscaping and or construction on Saturdays and Sundays during July and August. Number nine, summer work rules / hours. All landscaping and construction must be completed during the hours of 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. during July and August. And I'd also like to add maybe more affordable housing so that people don't have to commute so far and they can live in the area in which they work. And those are the solutions. So I hope you take those into account.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you submit that to our clerk so we can review it later?
Yes, Mrs. Warner
Yeah.
will submit it to me.
But I know
Mrs.
you'll
Warner,
be here, so.
Thank you.
Mrs. Warner. It's okay.
Too short. I'm on 157 Hetty Creek Lane, and I have the same problem as everyone here. And I was going to read you all the list, which I can send it to you, but it's exactly what she said. And I also have another suggestion that maybe to have, to get together with the town of Southampton, the county, and maybe New York State, so that they can figure out that, the traffic has to have like a half lane coming in and a half lane going out. And maybe if they all get together with you guys, we might solve that problem, because otherwise this is impossible. And I agree with all of my colleagues here because I had a hard time getting out of my house. and I will be against traffic going back. So, good luck.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Warner. We unfortunately we have to go in the order, and we can't go back. Yeah.
Our next resident is Claudia Avendano.
She was the lady that was up there with the two boys.
Oh,
The neighbor.
understood.
Oh, the neighbor. Thank you.
Jessica. Okay, our next one is Michael Zinder, 36 Pulaski. Yes.
Hi, Michael Zinder, 36 Pulaski. I had a question and a comment. The question is, I read in the Southampton Press today about this denial of the park fee for the beachhead latch situation of several $1 million. I was just wondering if at some point one of you could just address what the village is planning to do from a budgetary perspective with the loss of that fee. It seemed like it was pretty substantial. And my comment was, just with respect to this whole situation on real estate taxes, I think there's several dimensions to that. Clearly, it's a very complicated matter and has historical elements to it. It's got market elements to it. It's got whether people have done improvements. And I think that's a big issue to tackle, though I think it's worth tackling at some point, but I think it needs careful consideration. But one thing that I think is very clear about it is that there could be more transparency in the whole situation. I know people who have they get in the mail a 1-paragraph letter that says simply, your new valuation is this and your new taxes are this. And in some cases, it's nearly double. And it says nothing about how it's been arrived at. There's no calculations. There's no numerical aspect to it. It just says this is the new number. And this is what you owe. And by the way, if you don't pay it in about a month, all kinds of penalties ensue, and we can take liens against your house and sell it out from under you. That doesn't seem like the right way to handle this. It seems to me at a minimum, you guys ought to be able to come up with or commission somebody to come up with at least some sort of information you can give people as to why their taxes are changing. What has happened? Is it purely because of market that we've looked at other comps in your area? Is it because of something that's happened to your house? Like how is this being arrived at? Why are your taxes going up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% in one fell swoop in 1 year? It just seems to me that's a minimal thing that you can owe to the villagers. So I'd appreciate it if somebody could actually look at that and see whether you can't come up with a better way of explaining it. It sounds like Trustee Stevenson tried a little bit too in that one letter, but even that's not fully sufficient, it seems to me. So we'd appreciate some more transparency. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Lauren Santo Domingo. If you wanted to speak as well, you have 3 minutes to speak if you wanted to, or if you wanted to recite the letter, that's fine as well.
It's up to you, whatever you'd like to do.
I'm fine with submitting the letter.
Okay. It's part of the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And our last resident is Mary Ellen Bytel.
Hi.
Thank you. 51 Hetty Creek Lane. I initially wanted to just speak about the traffic stop possibility, the stop sign, and I actually oppose the stop sign because I think they are ineffective at controlling speed, and they're designed to control the right-of-way where there's an intersection that requires regulation, and that intersection at Lee and Ox Pasture is a T, as you know, and many municipalities in my internet sleuthing have shown that when they're installed under citizen pressure, the result is increased speed violations, rolling stops, and people speed up between stop signs to get to the next stop sign and to get beyond them. There's actually an increase in collisions as well. I've observed in general that more stop signage around here because of the traffic and because of has sort of resulted in more urbanization of the village. We have a beautiful village, we have a beautiful East End, and it's a problem, you know, the traffic, and I recognize that, and nor do I have any answers. But I would wonder, I may be naive about this, what can we do as citizens to put relentless pressure on the county, because 39 is the main artery in and out of here, and we want people to use that. And we want them to go the speed limit on that road. And I don't know where that stands, and that's probably another meeting. But I'm willing to participate, you know, strongly in the effort to, you know, work with the county on that road, which is a dangerous, but it is the artery to the East End. I ask you to consider what is enforceable in terms of what we're doing so far, speed, et cetera. I wonder if you've looked into the GPS systems that everybody's using, so that when you're in Watermill at 5 o'clock and you want to get to Center Riches, your GPS system is going to tell you to take Great Plains Road to Lee Avenue. And we have many day trippers who don't know any better, and many day golfers, and many day visitors, and antique hunters, and whatever they do. You know, that's how they come. You know, so whether that's something we can do, I would ask you to consider the history of accidents at that corner of Lee and Ox Pasture. I don't know of any in my life here, which is 30 years. I would ask you to consider a lot of speed traps on Ox Pasture and Lee. Maybe not the speed bumps, but I just, you know, we just want to maintain our quality of life and come home and gently make that turn onto Lee Avenue without another stop sign. I'd ask you to look, and this is another topic, another meeting for the Environment Committee, you know, to increase incentives for people to have less need for landscapers, to reduce, you know, more native plants, increase, you know, pollinators, et cetera, reduce the size of some of these lawns, which are unused and unnecessary. I think I covered it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I have no more.
Okay.
I was late because of traffic, and I heard now.
Sure. Judge Wilson, come forward.
So, unfortunately, some of my neighbors on Elm Street couldn't make it tonight, but they asked me to let you know that we also have a lot of problems on Elm Street with the traffic, of course. We have our lines, our internet and our cable lines are constantly being torn down because they can't be higher than the PSEG lines. And because it seems to be that Elm Street is part of the, apparently it's not really, but it appears to be a truck route. Perhaps that's because of Hampton Road and the new design of Hampton Road, that so many of the trucks use Elm Street and then Post Crossing. I was trying to talk to a neighbor about this meeting that lives on Post Crossing the other day, and quite frankly, neither one of us could even cross the street to get over to try to talk. We were like laughing about like, yeah, this is the problem. We also have trouble on Elm Street, the same thing, trying to back out of our driveways. You know, in the morning, the people are running to the schools, they're running to the hospital. That has just become a big thoroughfare. And I know last week or 2 weeks ago, you were discussing about the poundage, the 10,000-pound trucks. We certainly don't want them scooted over to Elm Street because we feel that that would be an unfair burden on a neighborhood that's already been burdened by the adjustments from Hampton Road. Thank you very much.
Do you want the chief to speak about
Yeah. So I was going to ask, now that everyone's...
Do we have anyone on Zoom?
Oh, sorry, yes. Sage, anybody trying to zoom in? Yep. Okay, well then let's go with those folks, please. Thank you. How many people do we have waiting, Sage? Just one. Okay. Hello, you're on, so could you identify yourself and give us your address, please, sir?
Hey, Bill, it's Wayne Miller from 24 Somerset Avenue. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Great. I know I sent a letter to you and the board. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. I think one of the speakers said that the Somerset Avenue issue is creating a problem for the south side of Hill Street. I don't think that's the case. I think I said that three nights in a row on different hours, somewhere around like 4, 5, and 6 for 10 minutes, I counted 40 cars. Just kind of extrapolating that over a 4-hour period. We have over 1,000 cars still coming through Somerset and making right turns. And I know this is a difficult thing for the police to enforce by themselves, but across the country, there is the utilization of automated enforcement system, cameras, to help assist the police to enforce these no right turns that we put up. But at this point, we have the same amount of cars that we had prior to all this effort that was put in from last September. And I think Gina said it right last meeting. I think the goal is to keep the traffic onto 39 and onto Hill Street. The more cars that try to enter from the side streets, the slower it is on Hill Street. Because when you get west of Tuckahoe over there, the traffic is moving on Hill Street. And so I think we're moving in the right direction. I think we've got to get more of the cars off of the side streets, keep them on 39, and keep them on Hill Street. I also, one evening, I know I put it in the letter, but just so everybody else could hear, it's not just Somerset. I walked over to Bishop, 10 minutes, I counted 40 cars. The cars are still making right turns on Bishop. So it's not, this is just more traffic trying to cut through on the south side and the north side of Hill Street. And I'm really hopeful that you guys can really work towards the implementation of technology, camera systems, whatever, to help us to get this traffic staying on Hill and staying on 39, and to work with the incredible police department that we have. That's all I've got. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it.
Okay, Bill.
All right, at this point then, I'll call the Chief of Police up to speak a little bit about traffic. Thank you, Chief Hurto.
No problem. I hear everybody tonight. We do the best that we can. It's very difficult. We're a force of 27 officers, and right now I have a sergeant and 2 cops working. So to stand in the middle of Hill Street from 4 to 7 to empty traffic out of the feeder road is just not practical, because we do have the rest of the village to serve in the event there's emergency calls to go on, calls to answer. So that is not, yeah, I'm sorry. That is not the best solution. The cameras, I'm 50-50 with here, and I don't think that, I do have some concerns with it. I have 3 calls into different vendors to see what type of software we could have, but you have to remember, we're not going to have control of the tickets. It's going to be automated by whatever software is being used. So in the event we do have an MVA on County Road 39, we're not going to be able to control those people that need to, the traffic's being redirected and they're making the rights off of Somerset because they have nowhere to go because there is an accident on 39. We have no control of stopping that. So the other thing is, you have our school buses that have bus routes that have to, take certain routes and make right turns. Our fire, EMS, and PD, we have no control over our volunteers receiving tickets going to a call. And also, too, if we put cameras on certain streets, those cameras, people are going to find out where they are, and it's going to push the problem to the streets that don't have cameras. So there isn't a simple solution. While the cameras sound great, and they do, there is not a municipality out here in the towns and villages that have any enforcement cameras right now. And that's because you need state legislation to help enact that. And you need the state to help get those enforcement cameras. I checked with the town, they don't have any enforcement cameras. East Hampton Village, East Hampton Town have no enforcement cameras. And these are all areas that have the same traffic problems that we're all dealing with in the village. And I do feel for our residents. I sit in it every day going home and coming to work, and I know what you're all dealing with. So I am looking into cameras just to say that, we're doing our due diligence to come to any type of relief that we can help, ease this a little bit. It's not going to be popular, but I do agree with Ms. Plum as far as lifting the restrictions on Somerset, because I do think that, again, it was a good idea. It's clearly not enforceable. Mr. Miller said, it was Mr. Miller, right?
Yes.
Said that there's still traffic coming down those roads, which those roads aren't closed to traffic. They're just restricted from making that right turn, and it would facilitate things a lot quicker if people were allowed to make that right turn. And I know that the residents on Bishops and the residents on Corrigan and Somerset are probably going to flood my email tomorrow. But I do really think that it's making the problem worse. And I do think that the reason why we're getting so much traffic on Ox Pasture is because Hill Street's at a standstill, because we're trying to keep those feeder roads clear and keep the traffic on Hill and 39. But there's just so much volume. It is so difficult to control. And again, we are not the only municipality that is dealing with this issue. So we're all in this together, trying to figure out the best solution. But I do think we have to go up the food chain a little bit. And I think we have to go to the county, and we have to go to the state, and they have to listen. And you have to reach out to your legislators. Fred Thiel, Bridget Fleming, all of them. We need help out here.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the scales that I just signed the purchase order for?
Yes, we just ordered our weights and scales to help with our, implementing the new, the truck and the route. The goal is to keep these bigger trucks on the designated truck route we already have in the village. And I think that truck route is, Elm Street is not part of that truck route, Judge Wilson. But I think that's what we have to keep the focus on. And I know that we're meeting with Ryan Winter to discuss what other roads we can implement that on, in addition to, we all do it in one shot. And I have my commercial vehicle enforcement officers that are trained to use them. And I think that'll be a big help and a big deterrent. And I do also think that perhaps the landscaping trucks we need to address, pulling them in the driveways, having restrictions on every road that they have to pull in, or they're going to be subject to a citation by the village police. And I think we should be able to draft something.
But it's all commercial vehicles that are working at,
Yes.
at different residences
Yes.
that park out on the street.
Right.
Because it becomes an obstacle course.
Well, it's not just the landscaping.
Right, it's
No.
not just landscaping.
No.
I don't want to just, cite them. There
No.
are others that are out on the street as well.
Yes,
And it becomes, as I said, an obstacle course.
yes, it's dangerous.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Chief, I
Just
appreciate it.
one other thing
Yeah.
about the stop sign and
Yes.
why you suggested that that's how this came about. It's not,
Yeah, so
none
it
of these
was-
things come out of the sky.
Yeah, it was my suggestion, and I know that there's always going to be negative and positives to everything that is suggested. But my thought process was it would, kind of similar to what's on the expressway, because that's pretty much what these roads are turning into out here, is, one vehicle per green. So it would give a little bit of breather on Ox Pasture. The vehicles would stop. This is it, in the perfect world. The vehicles would stop, and it would allow, not such a big backup on Lee Avenue, and it would kind of like breathe a little bit. And it may not be the best idea, but we got to try something.
And you can monitor
I don't want to.
What's that?
You can monitor it.
Yeah, and we
use
can
the stop
monitor
sign.
it and enforce it.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if we want to start taking all these
Interesting
questions.
answer,
That's the
Yeah.
problem. But
I mean, if we want to have some type of community meeting at the police department, we can utilize the court on a non-court day with, as long as it doesn't interfere with the judge. I'm happy to have that. I've had it with Somerset residents before.
yeah, I think that would, because we have several other public hearings and then we
Yeah,
have a long agenda, and I don't want this just to become a meeting. It's already 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, we can, somebody who wants to take the helm and reach out to me, and I will work with that person, and they can be the liaison with the community, and
What I'll do is how about for those that have not spoken, sorry, sir, for those that have not spoken, if you want to speak now, I'll let you speak now. Ms. Eddie Gaffron, I see you. So, all right, for those that have not spoken, I will let you still continue to speak for public comment. Well, you have to come to the podium, Eddie. You have to state your name and give your address.
Okay.
I know who you are, but you need to let everyone else know who you are.
Okay. And I think you know me.
I do know who you are.
Okay. On Lee Avenue, I have lived happily since 1940. So I know the street well. But the important thing is, has a traffic consultant been approached
Yes.
on the matter?
Yes.
Okay. So about this, there will be some progress with a traffic consultant. Okay.
Yes.
Is Lee Avenue the worst problem?
I think,
By far.
yes, right now, yes.
Right
Okay.
now, yeah.
So can there be diversion onto other streets?
If you create a diversion, you're gonna have another negative consequence on another road. That's the problem we're running into right now.
Okay. Now, in the future, unless this problem gets solved, I would think the only solution is the expansion of, we've talked about this, on the highway system going west.
Yep.
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 I just
So-
don't see any other solution.
No.
I-
You're exactly right. And so in fact, I have a meeting with legislator Fleming next month to speak specifically about this, because County Road 39 is just that. It's a county road.
Yeah.
And we need to address the issue with the county. And in fact, everybody here and everybody in the village should be addressing this issue also to the county, because the village is only 6.5 square miles, and we cannot control the volume of cars that come through the village on any given day. These people are not living in the village. They are traveling through and to other places, and they should be using County Road 39. So we need to address this issue to the county to build a proper road and engineer the road to handle the volume of cars that are coming to not only this location, but to points east. Most of the traffic that is coming through the village are going to points east of the village of Southampton.
I got that.
So that is where we need to focus our attention. It's the volume of cars that need to be put back on County Road 39. So honestly, we need to start a letter writing campaign to Suffolk County to get them to address the issue with County Road 39, so that we don't have them all coming through residential streets in the village of Southampton.
Okay, just let me return to the problem.
And then your time is almost up, Eddie.
What's that?
Then your time is almost up.
Okay, I haven't got a second or two, or one more second?
One more second.
Okay, there are 4 streets, beginning with First Neck Lane, ending on Lee Avenue.
Yep.
So there could be more diversion?
Yes, I understand what your point, but yes, we can look at that.
Am I through?
Yes, thank you, Eddie.
Goodbye.
Yes. You got to state your name and your address.
Hi, Jessica Mezzacappa, 136 Hetty Creek Lane. I think you've maybe been there. I just want to say, to Amy's point, when the village cut off the right turns on the north side of Hill Street, those cars were taking a right, which is easy to do, into traffic. That forced the traffic to Lee Avenue, where they have to take a left, which takes 3 times as long. So let's let Amy get home and me get out. So it's just the left turn part of it.
That's a good point.
Exacerbates it. Okay, have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, Lane, you didn't get to speak before, so I'm going to let you speak now.
Lane Birch Snyder, Lewis Street. I think it was mentioned only once or twice. The problem in these 4 streets and in Southampton is traffic. And what do you do about traffic? You have to decide to be creative and figure out how to get people like the people that run the Long Island Railroad, that run the buses, that are able to help us lighten this load. Why do we have nurses coming from Up Island in their car, sitting in traffic for an hour and a half or an hour, when I'm sure the bulk of them would get on a bus or a train if there was an available train? Now, I realize it's 6.5 miles a village. I realize we have to be creative, get the town, get the Suffolk County involved. I don't know who it is. Everybody has friends all over the place. Let's get all those friends and let's address the major problem, which is traffic.
Yeah.
And let's stop this traffic from coming in, but make it easy to stop it. Make it easy to get into Southampton. I don't think we need every one of these cars and every one of these trucks that are coming in. I'm sure a lot of them that bring in their truck, unload the stuff, would be happy to leave a truck if they could get in 25 minutes the following morning and go home in 25 minutes.
Thank you, Lane.
Thank you, Lane.
All right. Did anyone else want to speak that did not speak?
One suggestion.
Amy, you spoke already. You spoke already. I can't do that, otherwise we're going to break the rules.
No, it's just a suggestion on a similar.
All right, can you send it in, though, to us?
Wait, one more.
Mai wanted to speak?
Mai.
You have to
Mai,
come
you-
forward,
Mai, you
Mai.
have to come.
You got to come forward. But we can't have repeat customers, otherwise, honestly, we got to keep going with this meeting, because we have public hearings to go still.
I'm Mai Hallingby, and I live at 93 Lee Avenue. I have a series of pictures I took to get here tonight, and that's why I was late. And I wanted you to see, we have trucks, and we have landscape trucks that are not one vehicle. They now have trailers attached. And they come around the corners, and they block all the streets. Is this allowed, or can you prevent that? They cannot come, and then they park it on the street, and then they put the cones out on the street, too.
Yeah.
And nothing moves.
Well,
So
this is something
the
that the weights will, and will handle that, because again, it'll be overweight vehicles, and we'll be able to restrict that.
And I wanted to say that, Lee Avenue is the narrowest street going from Oxpasture to Hill Street, yet is the furthest south. So everybody comes on Lee Avenue. Like diversion to some of the others would take some of that off Lee Avenue. But we're just not equipped to handle these big vehicles. And it's impossible to get out of the driveway, impossible not to ruin your tires or drive into somebody's mailbox. And so we have to do something about limiting traffic on Lee Avenue, because it is the narrowest street from there to there. So I thought perhaps you could put a limit on what size cars are allowed on these residential streets.
Yeah, no, we're
And-
going to have a meeting with our traffic consultant next week to specifically talk about
Okay.
the weight of these vehicles.
My
on
suggestion is not
residential
only
streets.
the weight, but the size, because maybe I would say normal size car and nothing larger than a normal SUV should be allowed on these streets, and all other vehicles should take 39 or some other route, 27 or so.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mai.
Nice to see you.
All right. Okay, Christine Whitker, you haven't spoken.
It's Christine Winter. I was just going to also mention that one time I called the police during the day. 'cause
Wait, could you just state your address too?
Yes.
I'm Christine Whitker, Cameron Street. Once I called the police because the Cooper's Farm at that curve, there's what you just described about cones and these landscaper trucks are so dangerous, because if you're coming towards Windmill Lane along Cooper's Farm, heading east, as it were, you can't see around the curve. So the cars coming west, you
Yeah.
could have a head-on.
And there are a lot of deer there as well.
Well, forget the deer. But I'm just saying, because of these large landscaper trucks with cones that are taking up
Yeah.
probably a block and a half if
You're
you're in
right.
the city.
You're right.
But I'm just saying it is something,
they keep
I know you're
getting
talking about
bigger.
weight of them, but they do have to go somewhere, and sometimes there isn't room for them in the driveway, which isn't anybody's problem. Even on Cameron Street, they're all along there. And
Yeah.
as you said, they serve a number of houses often, or they come 5 times a week.
Yeah, thank you, Christine. You know, if people want, we could have another meeting, as the chief suggested, just to discuss traffic at a later date, if people would like to do that. So we could take that into consideration, correct, chief? All right, so let's think about that. But at this point, anyone else who has not spoken? Okay, please come forward. Okay, thanks, Amy. Yeah.
My name's Debbie Ristow, 37 Hetty Creek. I just want to say that what's happening over time is people are becoming more frustrated, and it's actually becoming a very dangerous street to walk on. People are irate in their cars. Some of the cars try to hit your dog when you're walking, or they try to hit you. They're playing chicken. I've never seen in my adult life cars actually trying to play chicken with people trying to merely walk their dogs on the street. And, you know, you try to exit onto Lee Avenue, and people are, they're scary. So it's actually become, I feel it's a dangerous environment now. It's not just traffic. There's other problems. Maybe people are frustrated with all the ills of the world, but it's only a matter of time before there's some sort of very bad confrontation, and that's what I wanted to talk about.
No, I appreciate that.
Because of all these.
Thank you for coming forward. All right, last chance for anyone who did not speak. Okay, let's move on.
The next subject is Employee of the Month.
Okay, Gina, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Okay.
Thank you all very much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir, that's perfect.
I have to open a thing.
I know, I was going to say, open a
He's
window.
got to put it on low.
we open
No,
a
it's not gonna can you put that on low? Be careful. Okay, ready? We're good? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, actually, the Employee of the Month is the entire Parks Department. It's got it, she's gonna put it on low, very low. The lowest. Still make it. Okay, Lisa changed the air stage. They're not working.
They're not working.
They're on order.
Sorry, thank you. I think it's, I just have to interrupt. Charlene is trying to listen on YouTube, and it's coming up in static. So anyone
That's
that's
fine.
listening on YouTube is already coming up unintelligible.
to shut it,
So
yeah.
you have to
Let's open the windows.
either go to Zoom,
Seriously.
or we have to
Yeah.
at least turn that off.
Open the windows.
See how that works.
I know.
Just need to get a little air.
And maybe the back door.
Christine,
No,
would you mind?
just open the windows.
Okay. Well, that would just circulate the air a little bit. Yes. Oh,
can't
wow.
open that, can you?
What, not,
No,
not that door. You can't open that door.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
That's better. Thanks, Andrew.
It's got to be cooler out there, come on.
It's cool.
Is it? The breeze is, oh, it is. It's better.
I told you.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
All right, so once
keep
again,
going.
the Employee of the Month is actually the entire Parks Department this month. They have not been recognized where other departments or other parts of the Department of Public Works has been recognized. So under the direction of Foreman John Flick, I'd like to, nominate the whole crew, which is Bill Banks, Vinnie Brumsey, Joe Smith, Ed West, Steve Moran, Richard Chamberlain, Tom Lewinsky, Nick Johnson, James Strong, William Owen, Mike Quick, and on the summer crew, Noah Kent. People don't realize how our beautiful village is kept beautiful, as beautiful as it is. They, because we take it for granted that each morning this crew power washes the sidewalks throughout the village each day. They take care of the flowers. They take care of all the buildings that the village owns. The properties include SAC, Southampton Arts Center, right behind Village Hall. They take care of all the firehouses. They take care of the Historical Museum and all the properties that go along with the Historical Museum. They take care of Veterans Hall. They take care of Southampton Cultural Center. And they mow all the Little League and soccer fields. So I'd just like to thank each and every one of them. They work very quietly and diligently every day to keep our village in beautiful shape. So thank you guys for all the work that you do.
Thank you. All right, now we will have a special board presentation from Sean Dennehy of the Southampton History Museum. Sean, please come to the podium.
Sean Dennehy, Board Director of the Southampton History Museum, also the Restoration Chair for the Rogers Mansion. Less than 2 years ago, I came to this board and I asked for your trust in terms of not developing, but renovating the property. And we asked for $75,000 at that time. We matched that with $75,000. Since that time, I think you agree that the property has increased in terms of curb appeal. We put over 200 plantings in, and for Trustee Zananti, you weren't part of that, but everyone's heard my story before. We now have something very representative of the village. Our final stage really comes down to in the evening. If you're walking down Main Street, and I've been out here 40 years, you're really not going to make a left-hand turn down to Meeting House Lane. You got a parking lot that's empty. You have a Heart of the Hamptons under construction, or it was empty before because of the fire department, and you had a dark mansion. That's all changed. We have recently put the pergola up, the lighting, supposedly they were going to test it tonight, part of it. We did receive in-kind donations from the lighting design person, Nathan Orsman. We're getting all the hardware at cost. The electrical was tricky, and thank you to Trustee Aresta. You know, there's a lot of wiring that goes into that. We also had a lot of trees removed, rotten fence. I mean, there's more stuff that goes into this other than what we had on the original plan.
Yeah.
But what I'm really pleased with is that your investment right now is $225,000. Ours is $270,526. For those that I haven't reported yet, maybe a little bit more. But from the community, we have close to $185,000 of in-kind services. And Trustee Stevenson, you had asked me once before, could we go out there and try to secure monies and things of that nature? We could not have done this without folks like CMAC Sammy, who created the plan. Without that, there was nothing to run with. And Bill Coral, who saved me at the last minute. I had $9,000 left in my budget. He came in and did all the pergola, that stuff at no charge. So one after another snowball. Chris LaGuardia was part of it. Ernesto Rojas. We're now at a point where, well, I've run out of money. We're asking respectfully an advance of $75,000. The party that I'm hosting tomorrow, we've raised already a net $34,000, and I'll continue looking for investments from the community to see if I can goose that up a little bit. But it's always more than you think it is. I mean, every time you say you're going to do this, you're going to need that, it's never ending. So I have spent my budget for this year. I shouldn't say my budget, but your budget. And I'm asking for an advance, which would be next year, July of 2024. This is for capital investment. This is not for operating expenses. Every nickel I've spent, and believe me, I was the only one who spent it, I signed off on it, is something that's a permanent investment. Brickwork, plantings, fencing, and Trustee Aresta, you've seen there's nothing in there that's a wiggle room. It was really down to bare bones. But we almost have a third interest along with the community and the village. So I'm respectfully asking for $75,000 as soon as possible, because I want phase 2 to start with the lighting. Because come this Christmas, or even sooner, once it starts getting dark, I would like you to walk down there and see the difference. It's good. All the stuff we do during the daytime is nice, but at nighttime, you don't notice that. So we really need to light that whole area up, and that's where the money's going. It'll pay for the remainder of the lighting And part of the brickwork, I have to raise the other money for the brickwork. So, that's my story, I'm sticking to it.
Could I ask a question?
Certainly.
The advance would obviate the need for money next year, is that what you're saying?
Well, unless you want to be generous and give us some more because they have other needs. But yes, this would be the 2024 $75,000, which is in the operating budget for the village.
Thank you.
But Sean, aren't you now hosting events there that are supposed to be bringing in some additional capital?
Well, we don't have an executive director, and we haven't had one now for about 4.5 months. I don't want to, with regard to the museum, they're not a marketing entity by any means. They're nowhere near the caliber of SAC or the Cultural Center. I think there's a lot more we can do in terms of weddings, events, but it's not going to happen this year. It's going to happen next year.
Well, except I was just told that the village actually can't use the facility over the weekend of Southampton Fest because a wedding is scheduled there, which is the end of September.
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
I mean, if that's...
I just told that? All right, well, we have to look into that, or you'll look into that
So
for
wait
me.
a minute,
No,
so
I
you're...
think Connor told me there was a wedding that was scheduled in September.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
The
I
end
don't
of
know if
September,
that's
the
it,
weekend
the
that
exact
Southampton
date.
Fest is scheduled. So actually, Southampton Fest can't use the History Museum property.
Oh, I thought, but normally you use Lake Agawam.
We would also like to use the History Museum property.
Well, no one told me.
Well, I'm glad that you're having a wedding, because that means
I-
you'll raise extra money.
They only have maybe one wedding. In fact, my daughter who was sitting next to me. We had our wedding there, and I said, this place is incredible. It does need, improvements.
Right.
But these are capital improvements. So in other words, these things are going to be, if you like them tomorrow when you see them, you're going to like them for the next 10, 20 years. So, and my whole feeling is I want to build something.
Right.
Operating expenses, they need to figure it out. That's another side. But
Right.
this would help me out gratefully because I'm not sure if the deal would still exist with the lighting company.
Right.
If I postpone it to a later date. They're already digging up they have to dig up the grounds.
Yeah.
And we only want to do that once. The brickwork I can hold off on.
Sure.
But I will try to raise that money, and I'm in conversation with various larger entities within the community.
Okay. All right. We'll take a look at that.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Sean.
So you won't vote on it tonight, then?
No.
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 Okay.
Cannot do that.
Had to ask. Thank you.
All right, so now we'll go to public hearings.
The first public hearing is local law 16-2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 110, Section 110-37, Schedule F, stop intersections, specifically to provide an additional stop sign.
And this is actually, in fact, the stop sign at Ox Pasture Road and Lee Avenue. Anyone from the public like to come forward to speak about this? Wait, we heard you already, but you're certainly welcome to come forward again if you'd like to speak again.
Mayor Mango, I just have to make a motion.
Oh.
No, this is the public hearing, so you could speak about this or comment about it.
Right, but this legislation
No, this is not the legislation, it is just public hearing. So I'll make a motion to open this public hearing on this public hearing.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, would you like to speak again? No.
Anybody?
Sage, anyone on Zoom? Okay, anyone from the board like to say anything about this? Trustee Stevenson?
Well, I don't want to get into a long discussion about the public comment. I thank everybody who came and expressed their opinion, and clearly it was easy for us to see what an incredible knotty problem this is, and even on some of the issues, there were two people who thought the stop sign was a good idea and two people who thought it wasn't. There's people who think we should have no left turns and no right turns, and there's people who think we should have left turns. And it's a very, very hard problem. And with this stop sign, just a small little issue, there was some concern about that. So we're doing the best we can. It is really, really hard to try and figure out what the best solution is. As the chief said, for everything you do, there's a equal and opposite reaction. Traffic is like water, and if you stop it from going down Lee, it's gonna go down Halsey Neck, and all the people from Halsey Neck are gonna be in here saying they can't get out of their properties. And we know that, and we're trying to fix it, and I've talked to the chief
Trustee
about
Stevenson.
cameras.
You have to
I've
speak
talked
into
to the
the
chief
mic.
about cameras.
I've talked to the village attorney about cameras. I said, well, why can't we take pictures of all the license plate, and if you're a resident, you don't get a ticket, but if you're not a resident, you do get a ticket. And unfortunately, the village attorney told me that wasn't legal. We're scratching our heads and we're doing it. What the mayor said is 100% true. It's a county problem. It's an MTA problem. It's a town problem. I hate to say we can't do anything. We got to get on those guys, but we do, and we are, and we're working on it. And there's just too many cars and there's not enough road, and I hate to say that, but there is. And what Lane said about getting people to take less cars in here, that's also the solution. The problem is the guy needs the lawnmower. He's gonna have to park his truck someplace if he doesn't want to bring his truck with the lawnmower on it. And so we either got to stop people from cutting the lawn so much, and that was suggested this evening. I don't know how we legislate that. It's a great idea. Be more ecological, more mated plantings, not so much lawn, but I mean, world peace is a great idea too, and I don't know if we can solve that tonight. So anyway, stop sign, I don't know. I mean,
Well, I'd like to support the chief in her observations and help PD because they've asked for this to help them control. It's a little bit, but every little bit helps. And it is a volume problem that we have. And as the chief said, it's every village on the East End is suffering from this. And you brought up the nurses and the school teachers. They've adjusted the schedule at the hospital to according to the train schedule. So they encourage the nurses to take the train, and they are doing that. In fact, somebody in my office who was in this traffic every day, started to take the train, and she loves the train. And of course, her hours are adjusted according to the train schedule. So I think if we have a little bit more cooperation with that, it helps also. But it's a volume. We didn't mention about some of the speed humps. I ordered 2 speed humps, which are going to be placed on Halsey Street because of the traffic problem there. So we are doing things. We're doing things, and it's not just about one street or another street. It's a problem that is the entire village is suffering from this.
Those speed humps that we're trying as a pilot.
Yes, it's a pilot. So I only ordered 2 because that was like almost $10,000. And they can be removed, and which are the ones that we got, so they
Okay.
can be removed and go someplace else.
So let's just try and stick
Well,
with this.
I know, but I'm going, because we're doing so much. We really are. It doesn't seem that way, but we are. But I'm in support of this, to
Excuse me,
support the PD.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I know I'm putting the horse after the cart here a little bit, and I know that's not an expression, but I just want, for completeness of the record, to note that the proposed local law is to add 1 stop sign on
Correct.
Ox Pasture
Yes.
Road,
Yes.
westbound at Lee Avenue.
Correct.
I know that everyone knows that. I want the record to be complete.
Okay.
That that's
Thank
the
you very
purpose of
much.
the hearing.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Otherwise, I think maybe we'll close the public hearing on this.
Okay, one more.
Oh, sorry.
I would just say that the stop
You have to
sign-
speak into the.
You have to come forward again. I'm sorry, ma'am.
This is a 4-month problem generally,
Mhm.
and we're putting a permanent sign on that location, and the evidence is not there that it's going to have any impact on volume of traffic. In fact, when you're
No,
in bumper-to-bumper traffic, there is no need for a stop sign. Tonight, as several of my neighbors mentioned, it was backed up all the way to Halsey, down Ox Pasture. When I came out of Hetty Creek Lane, I made a right to go the back way. And actually, the fire chief's big white SUV came racing down behind me on Lee, and I had to quickly pull into a driveway to get out of his way. I just would like to reiterate that it's not a solution for volume. I think the solution is pressure on the county, and I'll be writing to Ms. Fleming tomorrow.
Thank you very much for doing that. I
And get
appreciate that.
everybody to do that. All the neighbors.
Yeah, so I think, I would make one more comment about, I think the point of this stop sign was actually for when there was not the bumper-to-bumper traffic, and there were people that would go at a rather high rate of speed westbound on Ox Pasture, and were making very wide right turns onto Lee Avenue, such that they actually were ending up into the, correct, of Lee Avenue. And I have actually seen one vehicle myself do that, and that can obviously be quite dangerous, especially if there's a car traveling in that southbound lane on Lee Avenue, because you can't really see around the hedge there of what is going to be coming, and there could be obviously an accident if someone makes that very fast, sweeping turn, as opposed to coming to a stop and then making the right turn. So I think that was what we were trying to mitigate with the stop sign at that intersection, because there are people that race to make that turn very quickly because there is no, at this point, nothing to slow them down before they make that turn. Anyway, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate your comments. And thank you for saying you're going to write to Legislator Fleming. All right, so can we close the public hearing?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll open the public hearing for Local Law 13-2023.
Ready? Local Law 13-2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 20, Planning Commission, Section 20-2A and B. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Do you want to explain what this is?
Thank you, Mayor. The proposed code revision reduces the number of members on the Planning Commission from 8 to 5. I believe the impetus on this is that 8 members is, first of all, an even number, and generally speaking, even numbers for boards can result in split decisions and doesn't make much sense. It also creates more room for problems on a board where you have to staff it, and there's more room for disagreement. This board, obviously, is a 5-member board, and that one would be 2. I believe that it was in the past, and it was revised to 8. I have not been able to confirm that because the revisions predate the red lines available on E-code. But the only change is changing from 8 to 5, and it should be noted that it doesn't affect current membership because there are
only 5 members.
Correct.
And I would point out that every board in the village is 5 members. The Zoning Board of Appeals, the Architectural Review Board, and Historic Preservation Board, and the Planning Board all have 5 members. And I don't know why the Planning Commission got to 8 members, but that happened at some point. Anyway, anyone from the public wish to be heard on this local law? Sage, anyone on Zoom? Anyone from the board here like to say anything about this?
Just makes
I
sense.
mean, it makes sense.
Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. All in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we'll go to local law 14-2023.
Local Law 14-2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 116, Waterfront Law, zoning, specifically Sections 116-9A 3, 116-9A 10A, and 116-9A 11A. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So do you want to explain what this is?
Thank you, Mayor. These revisions to Section 116-9 of the code is functionally a repeal of Local Law 1 of 2019. The impetus on this was at the recommendation of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I'll remind the board, but public hearing was already held on a very similar proposed local law on April 25th. Revisions to the law since that time have been made in Section 7, which is the effective date of the law, and I'll get into that in just a bit. But the prior amendment to the code in 2019, it allowed construction of an accessory building or structure in the front yard on waterfront lots as of right, so long as required accessory street setbacks were maintained. Prior to that, prior to Local Law 1 of 2019, in order to maintain a building or a structure in the front yard of a property on waterfront in the village, a variance was required from the Zoning Board of Appeals. This reinstates that practice. The reason for that is that the application of Local Law 1 of 2019 has proven problematic. The code does not define the term of waterfront, and therefore It is my understanding that the intent of the Board of Trustees at that time was for the law to only be applicable on properties abutting the ocean. Because the definition is not stated, owners of property which abut any type of water trigger the law. So, by repealing that law, it brings the Zoning Board of Appeals back into play when there's an application for front yard structures. The proposed law corrects that discrepancy, and notably, since the April 25th hearing, the revision to this it specifically excludes properties for which a completed building permit has been submitted. The board heard public comment at the last hearing that there was concern that property owners could be prejudiced who have relied upon existing code provisions. The record should also reflect receipt of an August 10th, 2023 correspondence from John Bennett on this. Does everyone have a copy of that letter?
Yes.
Yes.
There was also correspondence received dated August 9th from Richard Warren of InterScience, also voicing opposition to this change. So I want the record to show that there was also that received, which I believe the trustees all received that.
I think, yes, you get this one, you got that from InterScience.
Would the, here, would you, could you send this to the
Oh,
attorney?
you got it.
Here you go.
Mr. Bennett makes reference to Mr. Warren's
I have it, thank you.
correspondence, yeah.
Are there any
So,
questions from the board?
Not at this time, thank you.
So in other words, just to make it simple, it doesn't give you a rite of passage in order to do, just to put a tennis court in your front lawn, in the front part of the house.
Correct.
Okay.
The avenue to do that is through the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay. So
It-
that's it in simplistic terms.
Correct.
Okay.
so is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on this public hearing? Say, okay. I would just, add that, again, this is going back to the law of 4 years ago, the way it existed. It is the way all front yards are applied in the village of Southampton, that if you want to have an accessory structure in a front yard, you have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals for relief, seek a variance. So it does not treat homeowners with oceanfront property any differently than any other homeowner with a front yard anywhere else in the village. So this is saying that they will also have to go to the zoning board for relief for that. They certainly can do that should they wish to place an accessory structure in a front yard. Richard Warren of InterScience pointed out that maybe this should also possibly go to the planning board for some resolution. We certainly can look at that in the future, but I think at this time, going back to the way the village was handling this in 2019, by at least having everybody in the village wishing a accessory structure in a front yard, regardless of where they are, should go to the zoning board. So that's my statement. If any of the other trustees would like to say anything, certainly they can speak, but we can look into whether the planning board should take a look at these applications. Okay, so with no one else further comments on this, I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Next.
Local law.
Public hearing number 4, local law 15-2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 80, Park and Beach Regulations, specifically Section 80-13. Do we have a motion to open?
I'll make the motion to open the public hearing.
Second?
Okay. And
All
I
in
will
favor?
Turn to
Aye.
the, aye, sorry. I'll turn to the,
Thank you, Mayor. This is a proposed revision to Section 80-13 of Code. It changes the definition of a special event from one which involves a group of 50 people to a group of 30 people. So the practical effect of this change is that smaller gatherings, although gatherings that are still quite large at 30 people, will now require a special permit from the village clerk. And my understanding is the reasoning behind this is to allow for the village to govern safely and know when there will be large groups of people gathering. And I'm happy to answer any questions the board has.
Is this just for a public place? What happens if I'm having a dinner party for 30 people?
No, this is related to the beach.
No, this is,
Just the
this is,
beach,
this is
right?
only on the beachfront, so
But
that the villages.
Is it the homes, or is it it's also just the public spaces, or is it just on the beaches?
This relates to village
Just so to
property
be
and,
clear.
and the beaches in public places.
Right,
This
that's,
is,
I
this is
just
pub-
wanted to clarify for the public.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is so that, again, we don't have larger gatherings that the village police and enforcement officers are unaware of, so that we can have a better way to track what's going on, especially to make sure that they are being cleaned up at the end of the evening, and that, again, we don't have beaches that are littered the next morning. Yeah.
I have one question. Is there any allowance as far as if someone is entertaining and they're having staff? So is that number 30 in total, or do you have an allowance of 5 if you have a chef or, servers?
I'm going to defer to the
So
village attorney here.
The definition is the event involves a group of 30 or more persons. To wit, the event is attended by 30 or more persons. I would say that to wit in parentheticals excludes servers and support because they are not in attendance.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, anyone from the public want to comment on this? Barbara Wilson.
Hi, so I just want, my question is, so if there's 28 people and a bride and a groom and the judge shows up to do the wedding, you're saying they need a permit?
Again, if they would,
I mean, we're a Judeo-Christian society still promoting marriage, aren't we?
Yes.
Okay, so do we need a permit?
You would need a permit for a large gathering at the village beach.
So a 31-person wedding, just to do a simple ceremony would last 15 minutes, they'd have to get a permit?
That is correct.
Okay, and the permit would be how much?
For residents, it's free.
Okay, so they just have to come down, kind of put you on notice?
That's going to take place so that the police and enforcement can be alerted that this is going to take place, yes.
Okay, and is there a time limitation, like the hours?
It says that they must be over by 11:59 p.m.
Okay, and the time to start?
I forget. Honestly, I don't have it in front of me.
I don't believe it's provided.
It's not in the code, but when we give out the permits, it's stated in the permit, but it's not in the code.
Okay, so it could be for any time to start. Like if you wanted to like have a sunrise ceremony, like at Easter, we have a sunrise ceremony, so Father Mike would have to get a permit.
That's at Cooper's, and we give a special permit, but the Board of Trustees gives a special permit for that.
Right.
Yes, that's correct.
Right, so could we have
These
a
are
sunrise?
private, these are private
Right.
events.
So could it be a sunrise wedding? Without a permit, or no? What time does it start? That's my question.
Is the question, are there excluded times so that you can have more than a gathering of more than 30 people if you do it at odd hours without a permit?
Yes,
No.
No.
okay, thank you.
Are you planning a wedding? All right, Sage, anyone on Zoom wanted to speak about this? Okay, any other comments from the board?
No.
All right, should we close this public hearing?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Communications to the board. We heard from Wayne Miller tonight. Did he send a letter as well?
Yes.
Okay, I think it's probably on the same topic.
Yes, it is.
Okay, Teresa Romano, was that also on traffic?
What was hers?
And
Kathy?
let's see. Teresa Romano, she just had an overview, and it was sent out, it was regarding commuting as well, from near Stony Brook University and along Hill Street. So it was also traffic-related. Mhm.
Okay.
And Teresa did not speak at the public comment.
All
So
right.
it's only the communication to the board.
All right, and Lauren Santo Domingo also was
Com-
here.
had
and-
public
and-
comment
And
and
she was going to speak
communication.
about the traffic on Lee Avenue.
Right, and then
Yeah.
she elected to not speak at public comment because we had communication to the
Correct.
board.
Okay, and we did the mayoral appointment earlier of the new lieutenant. Congratulations to her again. So Kathy, why don't you just start with the suggested resolutions then, please?
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Number one, resolved, the claims for the warrant dated August 10th, 2023, totaling $917,037.19. Warrant A7, General Fund, $69,400.72. Warrant H3, Capital Fund, $416.25. Warrant T5, Trust Fund, and $21,165.20. Warrant A8, Utility Fund are audited and approved. Do we have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number two, resolved the reading of the minutes for the May 2023, June 2023, and July 2023 Board of Trustee meetings are dispensed, accepted as filed by the village clerk, and the actions taken at those meetings are hereby ratified and approved. Do we have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number three, the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton approves Local Law 16/2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 110, Section 11037, Schedule F, stop intersections, specifically to provide an additional stop sign. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Number four, resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton approves Local Law 13/2023, the proposal to amend Southampton Village Code, Section 20-2A and B. Do we have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number five, resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton approves Local Law 14-2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 116 zoning, specifically Sections 116-9A3, 116-9A, 10A, and 116-9A, 11A. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number six, resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton approves Local Law 15-2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 80, Park and Beach Regulations, specifically Section 80-13. Do we have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number seven, resolve the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton authorizes the village clerk to publish a notice of public hearing to be held on Thursday, September 14th, 2023, at 6 p.m. as a hybrid in-person Zoom meeting regarding Local Law 17-2023, the proposal to amend Chapter 116 zoning, specifically Chapter 116-14, Sections 1-5, off-street parking, truck loading space, and curb cut construction. Do we have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number eight, resolved in connection with the contemplated amendment to Village of Southampton Village Code Section 116-14M, which would alter off-street parking requirements within the village, council and/or the village planner and/or the village's planning consultant be directed to refer the matter to the Suffolk County Planning Commission, seek lead agency status, and notify interested agencies of the board's intent to seek lead agency status for the purposes of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion, can somebody tell me what this is about?
The proposed law would modify the stacking requirements for off-street parking, and this particular resolution is required in order to modify Chapter 116 of Village Code. A referral must be made to the Suffolk County Planning Commission. I've addressed the matter with the village planner, who felt more comfortable having a directive from this board for him to do so. The language regarding lead agency status is required in that resolution, but it this village must be lead agency as it relates only to property within the village.
What's the
So-
contemplated amendment?
So.
It's, go
Yeah.
ahead, sorry.
So I'll explain it. So right now, the rule to ensure that cars are off of the street at a residence say that you can only have one car moved in a parking area, a residential parking area. So we don't allow what's referred to as the stacking of cars in a driveway. So it means that a homeowner has to have a larger driveway so that the cars can all be arrayed, so that they don't have to move the cars around when they need to get cars out of the driveway. This is allowing cars to be stacked 2 in a row, so that you would be able to move 2 cars in a driveway and still conform with the parking requirements on site in the village. So it would allow someone to have a smaller driveway, for example, going to a garage that would not take up as much room in a front yard, which has been causing some consternation in some smaller lots in the village where people have been forced to pave over a large portion of their front yard in order to have the necessary parking spaces for, say, a 4-bedroom house, where they're not allowed to move more than 1 car at a time for the parking requirements. So this is allowing them to say they can stack the cars so that you'd have 2 cars in a row, like, for example, behind a garage, and you'd then you'd allow them to have less of an area devoted to parking on the property, which we've run into. Gina, trustee Aresta, and I have run into some instances on some smaller streets in the village where some neighbors have complained about how much of the property has to be turned over to parking, and it was felt that this law, by making this simple change, would allow the stacking of cars in a driveway to a garage, for example, that would then allow them to forego a larger area of driveway.
I get it.
Is that
But
making sense?
Doesn't this just mean that people are really not gonna wanna stack their cars, so they're gonna park their cars in the street? And aren't we just talking about, we've got too many cars parked on the street, and cars can't go up and down the street because there's so many cars parked on them? I think we need to keep as much space in the driveway as possible. How is a landscaper gonna park their car if they've already got 2 cars stacked in there and there's no place for them to go? I think this is, probably needs to be reconsidered.
All right, well, certainly we can reconsider it. We were trying to, again.
Just build a smaller house.
Exactly.
That would be.
You don't need to have so many cars if you don't have so many bedrooms.
All right, well, I know, so.
But this is just for the public hearing. This is just to notice the public hearing.
Yeah, anyway, there were many people that were asking us to try and figure out how that we didn't have to have these large driveways in people's front yards. So this was one way that we
Well,
thought.
some people take half of their front lawn and make it.
I get it, but nobody's gonna stack their car. They're gonna park their car on the road, and then we're gonna have more people on the road. I don't know, I think, my personal feeling is I would leave it the way it is, but it's up to the board, but.
Okay, well, it's just for
Okay.
the public hearing.
All right,
so-
all right.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
Well, I'll make the motion.
You made the motion, and then Gina's second, and all in favor?
Aye.
I would be against.
Any opposed? Okay, so 4-1. Okay, resolution number 9, resolve the Board of Trustees approves the proposal for NPV to provide the scope of services related to the Village of Southampton's annual MS4 reporting in the amount not to exceed $4,000 to be payable from trustee special projects. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 10, resolve the Board of Trustees directs the Finance Department to make the following budget modifications from budget line A1420.4, legal contractual services in the amount of $5,169.38, to budget line A1420.1, legal personnel services in the amount of $1,788.43, budget line A1420.801, legal retirement in the amount of $264.70, budget line A1420.803, legal Social Security Medicare in the amount of $114.01, budget line A1420.806, legal health insurance in the amount of $3,002.24, total transfer to $5,169.38. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 11, resolve the Board of Trustees approves the following attached budget modifications for the fiscal year ending May 31, 2023 for the various budget shortfalls. And within your agenda packet, you have 3 pages worth of the modifications. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Discussion,
Aye.
just so the public knows that these are housekeeping items, because this happens at the end of any fiscal year where some things have to be, they're just line items that are just transferred from one line to the other. I just wanted to make that clear for the public.
Julie, do you want to say anything?
Julie,
Okay,
did I explain that right?
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 12, resolve the Board of Trustees approves Mayor Menger to attend the annual NICOM Fall Training School from September 18th to the 22nd, 2023 in Lake Placid, New York. Registration, training, hotel accommodations, meals, and travel expenses are estimated at $2,250. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in-
Discussion, I want to make sure that one of the courses is traffic control, Mayor.
There's actually a large portion of this
Is-
on sewer systems.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 13, resolve the Board of Trustees approves Kathy Sweeney, village clerk, to attend the annual NICOM Fall Training School from September 18th to the 22nd, 2023 in Lake Placid, New York. Registration, training, hotel accommodations, meals, and travel expenses are estimated at $2,250. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Aye.
Like,
Well,
you're going to
discussion.
be doing the clerk stuff. Yeah.
I am. I'm
Okay.
doing just the clerk stuff.
All right.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 14, the Board of Trustees approves the hiring of the Cooper's booth attendants at a rate of $17 per hour effective August 11th, 2023. Haley Marcinchuk and Maren Schwartz. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 15, the Board of Trustees approves the hiring of the Cooper's Beach attendants at a rate of $16 per hour effective August 11th, 2023. Jack Nastri and Daniel Palumbo. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. And I will at this point relay to Attorney Preston regarding the next 3 bond resolutions.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're very welcome.
Mayor, resolutions numbers 16, 17, and 18 are related to the issuance of bonds for the proposed sustainability and energy solutions project being conducted by Johnson Controls. The board may wish to dispense with the reading of these resolutions as they take up 4 full single-space pages. I can provide a brief summary, and if anyone in the public has questions, I would recommend that I be directed to respond as best I can. But resolution number 16 relates to proposed improvements to village buildings, and it authorizes issuance of a principal amount not in excess of $2,958,300. Number 17 relates to the installation of LED streetlights, and it authorizes issuance of a principal amount not to exceed $463,580. And number 18 relates to the installation of photovoltaic equipment, solar panels, and authorizes issuance of a principal not to exceed $3,413,120. I would remind the board that a supermajority vote of 4 in favor is required for each of these to pass. and the board should note the presence of a representative of Johnson Controls in the room if you have any further questions as
Yeah.
to the scope of work.
Actually, I would like to call Chris Fitzsimmons up to the podium, please, Chris. Just to discuss a little bit this for the public.
Sure.
So, again, why don't you just explain again what the project entails, just to remind people what this is about and what this means for the village and how, in the long run, this will not be a burden to the village because of the cost savings that the projects will realize.
Of course. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Johnson Controls was brought in earlier this year to come in and conduct an energy audit, sustainability audit throughout the entire village, facilities, roadways. We were asked to, pay close attention to the infrastructure and also sustainability, public health, look for the future. We did that. We came to you with a proposal of a project that's around the total to the sum of those 3 resolutions, to put these things in place, these measures in place that will kind of look towards the future of the village, focusing on LED street lighting, some boiler replacements, some photovoltaic energy, like the village attorney had mentioned. It's our intention to see that from idea through storyboard and make sure that the project gets put through in a timely manner, but also professionally. Construction management, our team comes in and becomes a part of the village team with, the superintendent and other facilities management. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and could you just, I'll explain a little bit. So you did go out to at least 3 lending institutions.
Yes.
And priced what a loan would be.
Correct.
For covering the cost of these capital improvements.
That's correct.
And then we also, the village that is, also looked at what the cost of capital would be if we were to bond these capital improvements.
Right.
I believe the savings was approximately $400,000 to the village over the 20-year period if we were to bond these capital improvements as opposed to going to the best price that was offered by one of the lending institutions. So again, it was thought in the best interest of the village taxpayer, we should go the bonding route as opposed to a conventional loan.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that is why we were doing this bond. And we split it up into different components based on various reasons. I do understand that a portion of this for the solar will not be bonded because there is a federal credit that we will be able to realize if we do not have it bonded. Is that correct?
No, that federal grant that you'll be receiving in
Yeah.
about 2 years will be just that, a federal grant that will help kind of repay the bond.
Excuse
Right,
me,
but-
Mr. Mayor?
yeah.
Ms. Kegel-Betz advised me that she raised her hand, and I think she'd like to comment on this
I'd like
on
to have her
Zoom.
come in, please.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sage, can you help us with that, please? Thank you.
I think you muted, Charlene.
Ms. Kegel-Betz,
She-
welcome.
Okay, she was muted.
Welcome to the meeting. Well, you don't need to see us as long as we can see you and you can speak. But please speak up just a little bit. Yes, just speak up a little bit though.
louder.
It's a little bit faint.
She's so funny.
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to explain a little bit, because village does not go out to borrow money very frequently. So, we have very long, distracting conversation with bond counsel and fiscal advisor. And, also yesterday we had a meeting with the Budget and Finance Committee, and they voted unanimously to support the issuance of, custodial bonds to fund this project. The very long, protracted, as Andrew had appropriately stated, bond resolutions are, include a lot of, legal mumbo jumbo from state finance law. But the reason why there are, 3 rather than just 1 authorizing the project is New York State finance law requires that there be a separate authorizing resolution for category of assets that are being bonded based upon the state, they call it PPU, a period of probable usefulness, which is kind of like the life or the maximum amount of time for which you can borrow the money. For example, like when you borrow money for a mortgage, it's 30 years, or for a car, it's 5 years. Well, the state gives us guidelines for solar and for building improvements and for LED lighting. So because each of these different components of this project, which Johnson Controls is going to manage for us, has a different useful life, and therefore we have to have 3 different bonds. We are not going to bond the amount that we expect to receive in the rebates, which is about $700,000. We would just borrow that money from the general fund. But we expect that the next step, once this bond resolution is passed, there'll be putting notices in the newspaper. That will start our 30-day permissive referendum period. And at the end of that period, there will be a stopping period for 20 days. And at that point, we are ready and willing and able to start this project. So, and Mr. Mayor, you were correct. The side-by-side analysis of the lease purchase that would be funded through Bank of America, as opposed to our own traditional financing, because the village has such an excellent AAA Moody's bond rating. We would be able to actually have AAA for Standard & Poor's. We would be able to get less than a very, very competitive interest rate and save about $400,000 over the life of this project.
So yeah, so I was just trying to make the point that some of the financing for the solar cannot be bonded in order for us to be able to take the federal credit. So so that's fine, because we will get that money back from the federal government.
Makes sense.
So
Charlene, what's the life of the bond? 20 years?
Yeah. So the maximum is 20 years. There's 3 different components. Some of the bonds will be paid off earlier, but the total project is 20 years.
So we're saving 20 grand a year.
Yeah, about that. Yeah. And the only difference is we manage this in-house instead of the money coming through an escrow agent. So it'll be, and we haven't been out, haven't gotten a rating agency review, and since the ambulance barn is constructed. So it'll be a good exercise for us to go through. We have very little debt in the village. We have about $5.5 million for a $33 million budget. That's a very low percentage of debt. So this is going to be a very good project for the village, and the debt service basically is funded through the cost savings that we're going to have in the budget from energy savings.
And is that audited? Cost savings, do we ever find to get proof that the savings were realized?
They will be once the projects are done, and that energy ordinance conducted by Johnson.
Chris, do you want to explain
Chris,
that a little bit
can you
to
explain
Trustee
that?
Stevenson?
Yes, of course.
Virtually zero impact on the budget.
Our savings that we project that the project will realize is measured and guaranteed annually as a part of the project. We come in and show you what we did, what we saved as a result of the project. If those aren't achieved, we cut a check for the shortfall and then fix the problem. So it's a part of the project, that measurement and verification of the savings that are achieved.
But the solar arrays themselves at the police station, the ambulance barn, and here in the parking lot behind Village Hall will absorb a lot of the costs of powering these facilities.
Hopefully all of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the goal.
The goal is for all of it, yeah.
Right.
I'd like if I could clarify an answer to Trustee Stevenson's question. The period of probable usefulness related to Resolution 16, which is for improvements to village buildings, is 15 years, while the other two, number 17 related to streetlights and number 18 related to solar panels, are each 30 years.
So Charlene, you said that the Budget and Finance Committee unanimously approved the idea of leasing rather than, of bonding rather than leasing. The only question I have in my own, in private business, the difference between a lease is that your interest payments to the lease are considered operating expense, whereas if I borrow the money, it becomes debt and shows up on my balance sheet. So I would assume it would be the same for a village, or not really? And my only concern about that is if we add $6 million of debt, does it impact our ability to borrow the money we're going to need to borrow for the sewer system?
All very good questions. Actually, the Government Accounting Standards Board issued a standard several years back, which impacts the village, and we would be required, even if we did have a lease purchase agreement, we would have to record that debt on our balance sheet.
Okay.
And so it's 6 of one, half of the other. We're gonna have $6 million of debt on our balance sheet either way. And our fiscal advisor, Noah Eagleton, has indicated the village's fiscal ability and strength and management has been so strong that he is not concerned at all. And I believe trustees Arresta and Zananti were on the call yesterday. Said that he would be not concerned at all at any impact that this would have on our future ability to borrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just
Yep.
one quick reminder, I would remind trustee, village clerk Sweeney that, and I know Andrew would probably agree that because of the supermajority, there's usually a roll call vote with bond resolutions.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Ms. Keglebetz. Anything else from Chris Fitzsimmons?
No, thank you for having us.
Anything else from
Yeah.
the village attorney?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, anything else from the trustees?
As
Mr. Zananti has something to say.
As Charlene stated, trustee, I had a fair amount of back and forth with Ed Moneypenny and the Budget and Finance Committee on the alternatives that were presented, and we had this lengthy call, and Trustee Arresta was with us yesterday on that call, and they were unanimously approving of the course we chose to take. So it was a nice validation of the work that's been done.
Okay, Trustee Stevenson, anything else?
Got my questions answered, thank you.
Okay. So,
With respect to the resolution number 16, is there a motion to approve?
motion.
Motion by Mayor Manger. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Deputy Mayor Arresta. Polling the board, Trustee Zananti?
Yes.
Deputy
Yes.
Mayor Arresta?
Yes.
Mayor Manger?
Aye.
Trustee Brown?
Yes, in
Trustee
favor.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Unanimous. With respect to resolution number 17, is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Mayor Manger. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Deputy Mayor Arresta. Polling the board, Trustee Zananti?
Yes.
Deputy
Aye.
Mayor Arresta?
Aye.
Mayor Manger? Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Stevenson?
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. With respect to proposed resolution number 18, is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Mayor Manger. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Deputy Mayor Arresta. Polling the board, Trustee Zananti?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor
Aye.
Arresta? Mayor Manger?
Aye.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Stevenson?
Aye.
All in favor? And that is unanimous.
So now, I'm just gonna ask the village clerk, so now that we've done this, we have to put the notice in the newspaper.
Yes, so we have the 3 bond resolutions, so once these are completed, then what I need to do is submit them to Southampton Press, and they will get posted for August 17th, and then subsequently for 3 following weeks thereafter. And additionally, they'll be physically posted in 6 conspicuous locations around the village, similarly to what I do when I post all of the election information in June.
Okay.
So we'll be posting those.
What are the
Addition-
6 conspicuous locations?
Well, the first one is Village Hall, the
Yeah.
second is the police department, the third is the ambulance, the fourth is the library, fifth is the cultural center, and the sixth is the art center.
Okay.
Do you want me to repeat those?
No, I got it, thank you.
Very
I
good.
appreciate that. All right, and then the clock starts ticking.
The question that I wanted to verify now that this is, will the time hack start today, or will it start the day of the notice in the paper? Will it start today?
Does it start based on publication or your notification to the paper? Is
That
that the
was my-
question?
that's my question.
The publication.
Publication, so it will commence on the 17th then, August 17th.
Oh, so we've got a little bit
And
of
it'll be
ti- we've
30
got a
days
little bit of time.
thereafter. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
got
it's
it.
the 10th.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're very
Appreciate
welcome,
it.
sir.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Sure. So associated with this bond, We have a contract that we're waiting to have signed that was resolved 2 weeks ago, 2 meetings ago. I'm hoping to get that executed tonight so we could start to deploy, start to move our team.
So I have to say that I want to hold off on signing it until some of this machination moves a little bit forward,
Okay.
if that's okay.
I thought you might say that. We do have some subcontractor pricing that's going to expire, so that might affect kind of where the project
Okay,
stands.
why don't we talk about that after the
Okay, very good.
meeting?
Just
Okay.
wanted to bring it
Yeah.
up. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as we continue, resolution number 19, whereas by resolution 2023-1731, Sarah Ellen Simpson was appointed to the position of village attorney, and whereas on August 9th, 2023, Ms. Simpson notified the village that she was accepting other employment and would be unable to serve as Southampton village attorney, now therefore be it resolved, the village accepts Ms. Simpson's resignation effective August 11th, 2023. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Aye.
I just want to say, so this was the village attorney that we were hoping was going to be an in-house attorney. She told me this week after she started that a job that she had been working on for 6 months with NYSERDA had come through this week. So that was fortunate for her, obviously unfortunate for the village, because I was looking forward to working with her here in the village, but she said it was a job that she could not pass up. So again, after working, I guess, hoping for 6 months that she was going to get this position, she did get the position, and so that is why she tendered her resignation. And she did offer to work for 2 weeks, but I said that was not necessary. So I accepted her resignation, at this point in time today. So that is why we are now accepting her resignation, and she was only here for 3 days. But anyway, we will continue with Be Ready Fishbein as counsel to the village at this time, and that's that. I just wanted to explain that to the public what was going on here. So that's it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I just
Unanimous.
also want to make clear that I said nice things about Mr. Preston at the last meeting, and now that this is off, I take it all back.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Trustee Stevenson.
This concludes the portion of the resolutions. Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. So we're going to do comments from board members. We will start with Trustee Aresta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to congratulate Ashley Jones. A promotion well-deserved, and very happy for her and for PD, so to get that position filled. I spoke about the Parks Department before, but there are many other things that the DPW is working on now. Sidewalks, new sidewalks that have gone in, and various sidewalks that are in dire need of repair. And as you could hear the rain outside, they were prepping all day with the drains. We're having some drainage issues with these rains. They're just not taking the water fast enough. But they are working on that, and we're working on a plan for the drainage in the entire village, or I should say the problem areas that we will have. So just be patient. This is not this is something that we've been working on and hope to get this resolved in the course of the next year. But in the meantime, today they were out cleaning all the drains that are there, so nothing is holds back the water from going in there. But it's just kind of like the traffic, too much volume. So anyway, and speaking about traffic, I know I said got carried away a little bit before, but we are working on many different things. It's a big problem. It's a volume problem that we have, and all the East End towns are suffering from it. But we're trying to do what we can, and working on other studies. But as the chief said, you help one street, it's gonna affect the other street. We have to try and keep the traffic off the local streets and try to keep them on the highway. And I've been saying this for over a year now, on County Road 39, on Hill Street. And please write to the legislators, because we're having a very difficult time with them in response. So if they hear from the voters, I think they might respond a little bit better. And I'm so happy about moving forward with Johnson Controls. I've been working with Chris for almost a year now, I guess, right? Almost a year. And it's great. It's about sustainability. It's going to help our infrastructure, some of it which is crumbling. It's going to help with our windows, and it's going to help with our AC and boilers and heat and all roofing and all those things. Plus, and most importantly, it's the right thing to do for our environment. So, welcome. I can't wait to get this project really started. And have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Trustee Arresto. Sorry. Oh.
No,
Can I make a comment? I live in Broadmoor's development. You put those signs up, Gina, it's not doing a thing. They're still pouring through. I could not get out Somerset today. I had to go out through Bishop's Lane to get here. They're just cutting through my neighborhood.
There was a problem tonight throughout the village. The traffic was backed up all the way into North Sea. I don't know if there was
This is before this. They're still
Yes.
cutting through the neighborhood.
Yes, we discussed all this.
Thank
earlier.
thank
But
you, Bob. We really appreciate you being here to talk about that.
Traffic, I'm after the village to put in left-hand turning arrows on all lights.
All right, we're going to add that to the list to discuss with Ryan Winter, Chief, next week.
When I ran into one of the other neighbors in the village, they told me the problem they had on.
I'm sorry, Mr. Essay, can you just go to, thank you so much.
It's a little irregular, but we're going to allow you to
Yes,
do it, Bob.
because it's
because of
you.
your 55 years with the
I know.
Southampton Village Fire
You can't get rid
Department.
of me yet. By the
He's
time
got
that
his shirt on
bond is
tonight,
done,
too.
you'll find me at Sacred Hearts. One of my neighbors mentioned to me about, I talked about left-hand turning out. He talked about Main Street and Hampton Road.
Yeah.
That
We
should
know,
have-
yeah,
We
That
know.
should
terrible.
have a red light and a green arrow, a red arrow and a green arrow. So he almost got into an accident there one day. So the other thing, I spoke to the chief of police several years ago. I met her in a firehouse and talked about green arrow and also about the county trying to get them. And she says that she's frustrated with the county. I also
Yeah.
ran into the town supervisor and mentioned to him. And as soon as I mentioned David White's Lane, his eyes lit up because he knew exactly what I was talking
Well,
about.
he lives
Well,
there.
he lives there.
Thank you, Bob,
Thank you.
very much. Thank you. All right, we're going to go to Trustee Brown now.
Good evening. I'd like to do a special thank you and shout out to the Southampton Fest Committee. We're all looking forward to it. We know that this year is going to be an exciting year, and the date is going to be, I want you to save the date, 9/29 to 10/1. Remember, save the date for Southampton Fest. And we're going to get a special acknowledgement and thank for the committee, which is Mark Hannon, Linda DiBenedetto, I hope I said that correctly, from the Rotary, Christine Lonnie, Liz Burns, Kathy Sweeney, Charlene Kagelbetz, Barbara say your last name for me. Barbara Shakovitz. Names are important. Thank you. Leanna Lindsay and Nancy Kane. Special shout out to you. Thank you so very much. We're very excited to hear about the committee. Has lots of new things planned and something for everyone. And moving forward, I just want to thank the mayor and the board supporting the scales that have, where you've signed off on that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the board. We know that it is part of the answer as far as keeping our streets safe, our pedestrians safe, and this here will allow us to have the enforcement monitoring these overweight vehicles as part of the solution. So kudos to my board and thank everyone for agreeing upon that. And to my seasoned citizen society, I'm having such a lovely time with them. I just want to let you know that Maine Prospect is going to be hosting, the date is soon to come, a bingo night. Special guests are seasoned citizens. All are welcome. That's to come. And on the note of safety, we spoke about it the last time. We do have a number with our dispatch as well as a website, and this is in the case of letting our police department, our dispatchers know the layout of your home. It's quite important. God forbid if there is an accident or, there is a need of an emergency, they're going to understand the layout of your home. They'll be able to have access maybe into your door as opposed to knocking your door down. So that website is svpd.com. The number is 631-283-0056. I think I'll make a request if it's possible to go on our website. Okay, thank you so very much. And last but not least, thank all of our agencies as far as our ambulance, our fire, our police, and Cooper's Beach for keeping our town safe. We thank you so very much, and our ocean rescue, and we thank the PD as far as our drone patrol. We believe that we have the safest waters in the safest town. So once again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. We'll go to Trustee Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. I've already spoken a little bit about how much I appreciate all the folks who came in and talked about the traffic issue and how intractable it is and how hard we're all working to try and just ameliorate it a bit. But I did want to address, I wasn't planning to do it, but Donna Bennett's remarks about these folks who gather and act outrageously. This world is not as civil a place as it was just a few years ago. It's becoming increasingly less civil, and there are people who are increasingly using their constitutional rights through free speech and assemble to press these freedoms to the maximum allowable extent, hoping to cause a reaction. And I had spoken with the chief about this because it's not just the folks that Ms. Bennett was referencing. It's happening in the village. And these folks come and say outrageous things. The more outrageous, the more likely they are to have a citizen or somebody react to them, and they then try to use the legal system to reach some sort of monetary settlement that is beneficial to them. And this is not just a Southampton problem, it's a national problem. There are actually people who make a living doing this, and a pretty good living. And unfortunately, the Constitution is fairly strong in its protection of the right to say what you want to say and assemble. And as far as I know, there's unfortunately no way that anybody's quite figured out in any of the municipalities to rein this in. So Chief Hurtau advised me that we should just tell everybody, turn the other cheek, smile, don't do anything, and sooner or later they may just get the idea that they're not going to get anybody crazy here and to respond to them, and they'll move on to someplace else. And I hate to say that, it's unfortunate. It is especially makes me sick that children have to see the vile comments or vile statements that were made, but correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but I don't think we can do a whole lot about it. So anyway, sorry about that. I hate to sit up here and be an elected official and say, sorry, we can't do anything about traffic, and sorry, we can't do anything about people with terrible things on their signs. And trust me, I did not, I wish we could, but we're working on it, and if there was any way to do it, we will find it. So thank you all.
Thank you, Trustee Stevenson. We'll go to Trustee Zananti, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, also congratulations to Lieutenant Jones. I do want to, again, thank the Budget and Finance Committee for their very thoughtful work this week under some time constraints. Also, on other issues, I worked with Mark Schifford and Christian Pico of the Planning Commission to establish an agenda of priorities for their work this year. And we agreed on several, including trying to get improved cell service for the village, code enforcement issues, and financing alternatives for the workforce housing, the CPF-like flip tax that the town is now collecting. These are all important quality of life issues. Finally, I had a tour of the volunteer ambulance barn. I met with Kyle McGinnis and Dan and Don and the volunteer staff at the barn to see and understand their operation. I came away very impressed with the important work that the men and women who serve the village perform. It is critically important service to the village in the truest sense, life and death. So thank you, and thank you. Good night.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I am so sorry. I would absolutely like to congratulate Lieutenant Jones. Congratulations, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And thank you, Trustee Zananti. I would just like to say that, as I said when I was sworn in, one of the most important things of being a mayor is to make sure that the village and the residents and those that visit the village are safe and secure. And I have had the pleasure and the distinct honor to promote 2 individuals now in the Southampton Village Police Department. One was Chief Hertow, and now a second one with Lieutenant Jones. So I want to say it's been amazing to do that in all of this, about 2 months. So again, leadership at the Village Police Department. Leadership at the Village Police Department is definitely in very good hands. So I appreciate that. And so should all of the residents of the village. Obviously, traffic is a major issue. It's the volume. I said I have a meeting with Bridget Fleming, the legislator from Suffolk County for this area next month. I have proposed to her that we call a summit between the county, the townships, and the villages of the East End to meet to discuss how we will handle this. She seems agreeable to that. I'm hoping to have a meeting sometime this fall. In that regard, I've asked them also to bring in traffic engineers to look at all options. They should all be on the table to figure out how we can help alleviate this problem. I'm hoping that we have some solutions before summer of 2024. But at least I have begun the ball rolling. But as was said earlier, it would be helpful if everybody in the village and the town and everywhere within my speaking voice would help write letters of concern to the elected officials to try and do something about this issue and to help us. I will end on a couple of fun notes. Last night I was down at Cooper's Beach. Huge turnout for the Loan Sharks performing on behalf of the Cultural Center at Cooper's Beach on Wednesday night. It was fantastic. Thank goodness we had a great night last night and not the rain that we're having tonight. But it was a fantastic turnout. We had to open up the additional parking lot. Keglian was there helping direct traffic because we definitely had a lot of cars there. But it was really fantastic. It was great to see so many people come down to Cooper's Beach and enjoy the evening and the sunshine and the music. That's really what Southampton's all about. And I want to thank Trustee Brown and Kathy Sweeney for all they do to make sure Cooper's is really doing all that it can to be one of the best beaches in the United States. And then finally, I just want to alert everyone, again, a constituent came to me before the meeting and wanted me to make sure everyone knows that Children's Day on the Lawn is coming up at the First Presbyterian Church on August 19th, and that will be from 11:30 to 1:30. They're going to have a bounce house, face painting, a petting zoo, games, crafts, and food. So again, Children's Day on the Lawn at the First Presbyterian Church on August 19th. Anyway, other than that, I want to say thank you all very much, and we will be adjourning to executive session to discuss contractual, legal, and personnel matters. So thank you all very much. Have a good night. 9:37 p.m. We are coming out of executive session, and we are going to go back into regular session. So I'll make a motion to open again in regular session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So no action was taken during executive session when we discussed contractual, personnel, and legal matters. And at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to close this session of the Board of Trustees.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.